In the world of luxury, few names evoke the same level of reverence and prestige as Rolex. Today, it's valued at around $8 billion and is a symbol of precision, craftsmanship, and luxury. But this iconic brand didn't start as a global empire. It began with a young boy, an orphan, whose future seemed uncertain, and whose journey would eventually change the watchmaking world forever. The story of Rolex starts with a teenager named Hans Wilsdorf, born in the small town of Kulmbach, Germany, on March 22, 1881. He was the second son of Anna and Johann Daniel Wilsdorf. The family ran a modest business, inherited from Hans' grandfather, selling iron goods that were categorized in the middle-class range. They were not poor, but certainly not wealthy either. Tragedy struck early in Hans' life. In 1892, when he was just 11 years old, his mother became ill and passed away. A year later, his father also died, leaving Hans and his siblings orphans. At the tender age of 12, Hans found himself under the guardianship of his uncles, who made the difficult decision to sell the family business. With the money from the sale, they sent Hans and his siblings to a prestigious boarding school Ernst-Coburg in Bavaria, Germany. However, Hans did not share his uncle's enthusiasm for this decision. The life he once knew was gone, and now he was thrust into a rigid academic environment that he found difficult to endure. Living in a new town, Hans was seen as an outsider and became a target for bullying, especially because of his religion. His loneliness and sense of alienation made him deeply unhappy. To cope with this difficult period, Hans turned to his studies. He threw himself into his education, particularly in subjects like mathematics and languages, where he excelled. As he grew older, he began to understand the wisdom behind his uncle's decision. It forced him to become self-reliant early on, developing habits that would later contribute significantly to his success. As time went on, Hans became more than just a student. He was becoming a well-rounded individual, one with an eye for business. He recognized the importance of knowing languages, especially English and French, which would play a vital role in his future career. During his school years, he befriended a Swiss boy who shared fascinating stories about his hometown in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland. This city, known for its rich watchmaking history, sparked a deep interest in Hans. He dreamed of one day visiting it to learn more about the world of watches. At the age of 19, Hans made a bold decision. He left the safety and familiarity of boarding school behind, determined to follow his newfound passion. He moved to Geneva, Switzerland, and found work as an apprentice with an international pearl exporting company. This job offered Hans the chance to immerse himself in the world of business. While the company did not actually produce anything, it made significant profits by buying, sorting, grading, and packaging pearls for sale to jewelers. Hans, ever the quick learner, absorbed valuable business tactics from his time at the pearl company, earning good money for someone his age. But his curiosity led him to seek out more. He wanted something more exciting, more fulfilling. One day, he received a letter from a friend, offering him a position at Kuno Korten, one of the leading high-quality watchmaking companies in Switzerland. Kuno Korten was based in La Chaux-de-Fonds, the very place that had piqued Hans' interest all those years ago. This company exported millions of Swiss francs worth of pocket watches annually and even created their own watches from scratch. Hans couldn't resist the opportunity to work there and learn the craft of watchmaking. In 1900, Hans moved to La Chaux-de-Fonds, where he was hired as an English correspondent and clerk at Kuno Korten. His fluency in English, something he had learned during his time at school, was a major asset. Hans was responsible for winding hundreds of pocket watches daily, ensuring their accuracy, and learning the inner workings of watchmaking. While his time at Kuno Korten was cut short, he had to return to Germany to serve in the military. It was during these formative years that Hans' passion for watches solidified. After serving in the army, Hans returned to Switzerland at the age of 22, determined to continue his journey in the world of watches. He moved to London, where he took on a new role in another high-quality watchmaking company. This time, Hans was entrusted with a larger responsibility. He was put in charge of increasing sales. Over the next 2 years, Hans worked diligently to expand the company's clientele and increase its revenue. Despite his growing success, Hans' entrepreneurial spirit began to burn brighter. He envisioned creating his own watchmaking business, a venture that would combine his passion for fine watches with his growing business acumen. But there was one thing standing in his way: capital. During this time, Hans met his future wife, Florence Frances May Crotty. They quickly became close, and soon after, they were married. But as Hans looked toward the future, his thoughts turned to his business ideas. He confided in his much older brother-in-law, Alfred James Davis, during one of their many talks about life and future plans. Hans shared his dreams of starting his own watch business but revealed that he didn't have the funds to get started. Alfred, seeing Hans' determination and passion, offered to invest in his vision. Despite Hans' young age, Alfred believed in him and was ready to help him get started. In 1905, Hans Wilsdorf and Alfred James Davis founded Wilsdorf and Davis Limited, in London, a company that would eventually become Rolex. With the company up and running, Hans set his sights on Switzerland, the birthplace of many great watchmaking firms. In a strategic move, he partnered with a Swiss watch company called Hermann Egler, which was based in Biel, Switzerland. Together, they started importing Swiss watch movements into England, where they would be assembled and sold. To further strengthen their presence in Switzerland, Hans also opened an office in Biel. While Hans was making strides in building his business, the watch industry was facing an important challenge. At the time, wristwatches were seen mostly as a women's accessory, and were not yet considered reliable or accurate. Pocket watches were still the preferred choice for men, as they were larger, more precise, and perceived as more masculine. Wristwatches, on the other hand, were often criticized for being too small, prone to inaccuracies, and impractical for daily use. This was something that Hans found incredibly frustrating. He saw the potential for wristwatches to become the standard for everyone, but the technology simply wasn't there yet. Pocket watches, with their larger movements, were considered far superior in terms of precision and durability. But Hans had a vision where wristwatches could replace pocket watches entirely. He knew that if he could perfect the wristwatch, it would be the future of timekeeping. In 1914, Hans made a bold prediction. "My personal opinion is that pocket watches will almost completely disappear, and that wristwatches will replace them definitively." Determined to make this a reality, he dedicated the next several years to perfecting the wristwatch. He traveled across Europe, meeting with watchmakers, studying their techniques, and learning everything he could about the small details that made watches function accurately. By the time he returned to his company, Hans had gathered a wealth of knowledge about watchmaking, which he applied to the watches he was designing. His company began to gain traction, and by 1908, it was one of the top firms in the watchmaking industry in England. But Hans was far from satisfied. He wanted to make his brand stand out, to create something iconic and memorable. He realized that the name, Wilsdorf and Davis, was too long and complicated, and it didn't quite reflect the high-class image he wanted for his brand. So, Hans spent countless hours coming up with a name that would resonate internationally, one that was short, elegant, and easy to pronounce in any language. After many attempts, he came up with the name Rolex. He immediately knew it was perfect, short, catchy, and fitting for a high-end watch company. In 1908, Hans registered Rolex as a trademark, and the brand was officially born. From that moment, Rolex began to gain recognition for its high-quality wristwatches, attracting wealthy clientele who appreciated the precision and craftsmanship of the timepieces. However, the outbreak of World War I in 1914 brought challenges. Many businesses, including watchmaking companies, were struggling to survive. Some even shut down. But Rolex not only survived the war, it thrived. During the war, Rolex watches gained even more attention due to their precision and durability. Many soldiers were issued Rolex watches instead of pocket watches because they were easier to use and more reliable. The wristwatch proved to be an invaluable tool for coordinating attacks, keeping time with exact precision. By 1914, Rolex had grown to the point where it employed 60 people, with large office spaces in London to match its expanding operations. Rolex's reputation for excellence continued to grow, and the brand received its first-ever wristwatch chronometer rating from Switzerland, followed by a Class A certificate of precision from London's Kew Observatory. These prestigious certifications made Rolex watches even more desirable to the elite. But Hans was not one to rest on his laurels. He continued pushing for perfection. By 1914, Hans Wilsdorf's Rolex company was gaining momentum. However, the winds of war brought with them new obstacles. The British government imposed a hefty 33% tax on all companies registered in Great Britain that were exporting goods outside the country. This became a major concern for Hans, whose business relied heavily on international markets. To protect his company from these new taxes, he made the difficult decision to move Rolex's headquarters from London to Biel, Switzerland. But there was another reason for the move: anti-German sentiment during the war. As a German national, Hans faced increasing hostility from the British public, and even though he had founded Rolex under his own name, Wilsdorf and Davis, his German roots caused him to be viewed with suspicion. In 1915, to further distance himself from this negativity, Hans changed the name of the company from Wilsdorf and Davis Limited to the Rolex Watch Corporation Limited. This was another pivotal moment for the company, cementing the brand as truly international and capable of overcoming any obstacle. In the following years, Hans would focus on refining Rolex's position in the watch industry, continuing to innovate in both technical and marketing strategies. One of the key milestones came in 1919 when Rolex moved its primary office from Biel to Geneva, a decision that would allow Hans to focus on producing the highest quality timepieces. The manufacturing of watch movements remained in Biel, but they would be transported to Geneva, where each one was carefully tested for precision before being assembled into the final watch. Hans' commitment to perfection drove him to set the goal of making Rolex watches nearly indestructible. "We must succeed in making the watch case so tight that our movements will be permanently guaranteed against damage caused by dust, perspiration, water, heat, and cold," he declared. It was this unwavering focus on quality that would lead to one of Rolex's most revolutionary creations, the Rolex Oyster, the world's first waterproof wristwatch. The Rolex Oyster, released in 1926, was a true game-changer. It featured a unique, tightly sealed case that protected the delicate watch movement inside from water, dust, and other elements. Hans knew this was a groundbreaking achievement, and he was eager to show the world just how extraordinary his creation was. But rather than just releasing the watch and hoping people would notice, Hans devised an innovative marketing strategy that would elevate Rolex to global fame. In 1927, Hans learned of a woman named Mercedes Gleitze, who was attempting to swim across the English Channel, a grueling 20.5-mile swim between England and France. The world doubted her ability to complete the swim, and so Hans saw an opportunity. He encouraged Mercedes to wear a Rolex Oyster watch around her neck during her attempt. The swim was difficult, and though Mercedes was unable to complete it, she managed to swim nearly 17 miles before being pulled from the water, almost freezing to death. Despite the hardships she faced, the Rolex Oyster watch emerged from the water completely unharmed, perfectly functioning. This extraordinary feat was widely reported, and Hans quickly seized the opportunity to promote his watches. He placed an ad in a London Daily Mail highlighting the event and showing how his revolutionary timepiece had withstood the extreme conditions of the English Channel. It was this moment that catapulted Rolex to international fame, establishing it as a symbol of durability, reliability, and innovation. Hans didn't stop there. He cleverly continued to use publicity stunts to showcase Rolex's superiority. One of the most brilliant strategies involved placing Rolex Oyster watches inside fish bowls with real fish at Rolex dealers around the world. The sight of a functioning, waterproof watch inside a fishbowl caught the attention of many passers-by, drawing them into the stores and sparking curiosity about the brand. As the 1920s progressed, Hans increased his marketing efforts, working with celebrities and influential figures to promote Rolex. In 1928, he partnered with top British model Evelyn Lane to promote his watches, famously photographing her wearing a Rolex Oyster inside a fishbowl. This type of creative marketing continued to build Rolex's reputation as a luxury brand, synonymous with both elegance and innovation. The following decade saw more milestones for Rolex, including the introduction of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual in 1931. This was the first ever waterproof, self-winding wristwatch. Up until this point, the Rolex Oyster had been a triumph in waterproof technology, but the challenge remained: users still had to manually wind the watch. The new Oyster Perpetual solved that issue by incorporating an automatic winding mechanism, marking a significant breakthrough in watchmaking. Rolex continued to lead the way in precision and innovation throughout the 1930s. In 1933, the brand gained further visibility when Rolex watches were worn by the crew of a flight over Mount Everest. The watches performed flawlessly, even at the extreme altitudes of the world's highest peak. The following year, in 1934, Rolex made history when Malcolm Campbell, a famous speed driver, set a world speed record while wearing a Rolex watch. These high-profile endorsements helped cement Rolex's reputation not only as a luxury timepiece but as the go-to choice for individuals who demanded precision, reliability, and performance. Despite the success, the war years posed a significant challenge for Rolex. With World War II breaking out, global markets were disrupted, and exports became more difficult. But despite the difficulties, Hans continued to push Rolex forward, and his brand emerged from the war stronger than ever. During the post-war years, Rolex saw an explosion in demand for its timepieces, thanks to both its proven reliability and its association with elite figures. After the war, Rolex started to transition into the luxury brand we know today. The company focused more heavily on marketing to high society, appealing to the wealthiest individuals who saw owning a Rolex as a status symbol. Rolex watches were not just about functionality, they were a sign of success, wealth, and refined taste. In 1945, Rolex released the Datejust, the world's first waterproof, self-winding wristwatch with an automatic date function displayed on the dial. This was followed by the Day-Date in 1956, the first wristwatch to display both the date and the day of the week. These two models would go on to define Rolex as the ultimate luxury timepiece for the modern age. In the 1950s, Rolex continued to innovate. In 1953, the brand introduced the Submariner, the world's first waterproof watch capable of withstanding depths of 100 meters underwater. This model quickly became the go-to watch for divers and professionals alike. Hans Wilsdorf's life came to an end in 1960, but his legacy lived on. He had transformed Rolex into a symbol of luxury, precision, and excellence. His commitment to innovation and his dedication to creating the perfect watch had paid off, not just in profits but in shaping the future of watchmaking. In the years that followed, Rolex continued to innovate and cement its position as the world's leading luxury watch brand. In 1985, Rolex became the first company to manufacture watches using 904L steel, a highly durable and corrosion-resistant material. This, along with its other pioneering advancements, helped ensure that Rolex watches remained the most coveted timepieces in the world. Today, Rolex is more than just a watch, it's a symbol of success. From an orphaned boy with nothing but his determination, Hans Wilsdorf went on to build one of the most iconic luxury brands in history. His legacy is seen in every Rolex watch, worn by people around the world who value quality, precision, and style. Thank you for watching the incredible journey of the orphan boy who created Rolex. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on this remarkable tale of ambition, innovation, and success.